It's time for the Las Vegas Sports Line, brought to you by CG Technology Sportsbook.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
And we are off and running on the Thursday edition of the Las Vegas Sports Line. I'm Dave Cokin. Ralph Michaels from WagerTalk is here. Ari Platinum is producing the show. And in just a little bit, Will Bernanke will join us from CG Technology Sportsbooks. We'll run through lots of stuff, including the very first line of the NFL preseason Hall of Fame game went up this morning. We'll talk about that and a lot more. First, to check back on what's taken place today and last night. On the diamond today, Cardinals complete a great four-game series in Pittsburgh, Ralph. A 6-3 win. The Cardinals won all four meetings.
Yeah, big. We've talked about the Cardinals, how they've been up and down, and they've been such a strong home team. So for them to go on the road and sweep a series, huge in the second half of the season.
They got off to a 2-0 lead and basically never looked back in that game. 2-1, then 5-1, then 7-1, and that was the end of that. 6-1, I should say. Michaelis gets the win. He's been pitching well lately and picked up his seventh win of the season. Let me see if I can find a couple other details in the game. I just hit the wrong thing on my phone, unfortunately. But Michaelis with the win. Musgrove took the loss. Home run in the game by, I believe, Martinez had one for the Cardinals. Goldschmidt had one as well, 22. Wong with his 8th and Fowler with his 11th. Martinez did not have a homer in that game. Jacob deGrom pitched the Mets to a 4-0 win over the Padres. 7 brilliant innings for the talented right-hander. He picks up his 6th win of the year, which is ridiculous because he's pitched at such a higher level than that. Lauer takes the loss. Mets banged out 11 hits in the ball game and got a home run. Actually, no home runs in the game, but a couple of hits for Conforto, a couple of hits for Lagares, of all people, a couple of hits for Davis. So they got some solid offense up and down the lineup and get the easy win over the Padres. In progress, no score in the bottom of the third. The Nationals do have a threat, 2-on, 2-out, as they host the Rockies. And it is the return to action for Max Scherzer today for the Washington Nationals. A bit of bad news for one team, the Tampa Bay Rays. Blake Snell has an elbow issue, and he's off to the DL. And with Tyler Glasnow having a setback recently and now expected to probably be out till September, the Rays' chances of hanging in for the wild card are not looking real good.
Yeah, they're the team, of course, that started the opener, and they've gone away from that because their bullpen's been getting used so much. So this is just another injury to the pitching staff, which has been overtaxed.
I wouldn't be real excited about any Rays future tickets at this point. And
let me ask you this. Do they have arms in the bullpen? I mean, in the minors?
They've already brought up McKay.
Yeah.
It's Tampa.
Yeah,
not really. They're probably not going to do much. It's just that's the way it goes. It's not like the Giants, who sell out basically every game and have a huge fan base and are more likely to maybe take a chance now that they're in the race to do something down the stretch. Tampa's not going to do anything. So they'll probably just fall out of the running eventually unless they get some offense that hasn't been there. Star of the night, we had another 3-home run performance last night. Here's the guy who did it.
It's the Las Vegas Sports Line's Star of the Night.
This guy, couple of home runs. He's driven in 4. Both were 2-run shots. And DeYoung at the wall. It's gone. It's a 3-home run night for the Cardinals All-Star shortstop,
Paul DeYoung. He was the star of the night. He wasn't the star of the day today, but they didn't need him to be as the Cardinals picked up another win. Time for us to take a look at some of tonight's action. The remaining games on the Thursday schedule. We'll do that in the MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put the 4s up. Put the 4s up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sports Lines 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
And we started off with an interesting pitching duel tonight. Jose Barrios on the mound for the Twins, and he'll take on Lucas Giolito of the White Sox, opener of that series. The Twins coming out of an exciting series and a long one against the New York Yankees. The White Sox not playing real good ball lately. Twins are about $1.40 in the game. Barrios has not been great lately. His numbers haven't been bad. He's found a way to work out of jams, but he's had some high pitch counts. Left a lot of men on base recently. His metrics are not great over the last few starts, so he's not in his best form. Giolito has cooled off some from that incredible hot streak he had, Ralph, but he's still pitching pretty good baseball. And maybe a spot where the White Sox can sneak up on the Twins coming out of that big series against the Yanks.
Yeah, Giolito really wore out going into the All-Star break. He had a ERA over 5 in those 5 starts, but came back with a nice start against the Rays. You mentioned Berrios and the extended numbers on the WHIP. Well, that's due to 9 walks being in the last 16 innings that he started the games. I will say this, though, despite both pitchers having some issues, Giolito has gone under in 4 straight starts. Berrios, the under is 0-5-1 in his last 6 starts, so both pitchers trending towards the under.
Let's look at the Indians and Royals in Kansas City coming on a little bit lately. It doesn't mean anything in the big picture. They're a bad baseball team, but they are playing some respectable ball lately. Did well against the Braves. Now they come home and they face the Cleveland Indians. Plutko on the mound for Cleveland tonight. Mike Montgomery makes his second start since coming back to the Royals from the Chicago Cubs. His first start was a disaster against this team. He'll try and do better tonight. Indians good-sized favorites on the road. And the Indians now just a couple of games back of Minnesota in the American League Central. Boy, they have shaved that deficit in a hurry.
Yeah, watching Bieber pitch was fun last night. He was spot on. It was like he had Maddox-type control on that outside edge. And, Plutko's an extended ERA of 4.3, but on the season in his 8 starts, he has a 0.98 whip. He limits those walks. He hasn't given over 1 walk in each of his last 7 starts. And Montgomery, you mentioned, after the trade, 1 start against the Indians, he lasted all of 2 innings, giving up 5 runs. The Indians are playing well right now. I can't play against them.
Big favorite tonight as the Oakland A's take on the Texas Rangers. The Rangers have gone in the wrong direction and in a pretty big way. This is a team that overachieved in the first half of the season. The regression is not surprising. Their lineup is getting ravaged right now. Joey Gallo has a hamate bone, and he's going to be out for the next month or so. That's a big loss for their offense. Urado on the mound tonight. He has not been good lately. Brett Anderson, not going to blow anybody away with his stuff, but he's pitching effective baseball for the Oakland A's, getting soft contact, getting ground balls, and winning games. And the A's, despite the fact that they probably got put in the rearview mirror by Houston losing the series down there, although they did steal 1 game with a 9th-inning rally. But the A's are still very much a playoff caliber team at this point, looking like a team that's going to end up as one of the 2 wild cards, in my opinion.
Anderson now 14-6. The A's are 14-6 in Anderson's 20 starts. And you look at Texas now 1-9 their last 10 games. Anderson has won 7 of his last 8 starts for the A's. A's are a very good team at home. We'll talk about him more in the Joe's Angle of the Day.
And you can tell it's a short schedule when we end up with this game in the 4-4. The Tigers and Mariners will take the field at Seattle tonight. Drew Verhagen on the mound for the Tigers, making his first start of this season. He's had 4 career starts over the last few years. Tigers lost them all. The Mariners will go with a combo. Swanson will be the opener, and then likely followed by Wade LeBlanc as the primary tonight. And, well, I think if you maybe go back to the first 3 weeks, you might have seen a big number like this. I don't know, but it's been a while since the Mariners have been this big a chalk over anybody. They're in the 175, 180 range tonight. Not going to see me laying it, but I don't want any part of the Tigers, who are the worst team in baseball, and maybe by a pretty big margin at this point, even including teams like Baltimore, Miami, Seattle. And the Tigers look like they're far and away the worst team in baseball now.
Especially after the first month. Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you. And perhaps a lot of that is the defeatist attitude. They know they're going to lose a few players in the draft deadline. This is the game I just stayed away from. Verhagen was up in the bullpen earlier. In his last 11 starts for the Toledo Mud Hens, 51 Ks in 53 innings, a 4.5 ERA. Again, the Mariners, it tells you how bad Detroit is, as Marco said on First Pitch today, with the Mariners a 180 favorite.
Isn't that something? We will look later at the Yankees-Red Sox game. That will be our Thursday, I should say, WagerTalk Marquee matchup. Will Bernanke, you can follow him on Twitter at the Moneyline Guy, and he's one of the guys involved in, just putting those numbers together.
Got his hands in everything over there.
Yes, sir. Will's a busy guy, and he joins us right now to talk about what's happening on the board throughout the sports landscape. What's going on, Will? How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Dave. Guys, how you doing over there?
Good. I want to focus on college and NFL. We'll do some behind the counter later on tonight's big game in baseball, but we want to maybe focus a little bit on college and NFL options that are on the CG menu right now, and we can begin with week 1 of college football and the very first NFL preseason game. I was going to ask you when the game was going up, but the question got answered this morning when I popped on my screen and saw it up as we've got our first preseason line ready to go, and you can tell us about that.
Yeah, Atlanta's, we opened up Atlanta 1.5 and a total 34. As you know, those totals are always in the mid-30s, so that's nothing new. And it's been kind of slow as far as action goes so far. It's been two-way action, but since it's a week out, a full week before the game, I think handles should be pretty solid come next Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, people are starving for NFL action. And even it is arguably the worst game of the entire year. Hall of Fame game, you might see starters for a series tops, if that. And it's guys who are going to be serving lunch at Denny's in a month that are going to be playing in the field. But it's still the NFL, and people are going to get involved in betting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's only so much CFL you can take, and this game will by far outweigh any CFL game we've had up till now. So it's just a welcome sight to see, and I'm curious to see how our handle is this weekend leading up to the game on Thursday.
Does the game on Thursday start opening up the floodgates for more Week 1 college football action, for the Week 1 NFL actions you put up? Is that really the start of when you see the volume increase, or do they wait a few more weeks into the month?
Usually it's somewhat of a catalyst, the Hall of Fame game, but people usually start once, people see training camp day in and day out and some more storylines pop up. That really kind of triggers people to head to the window. Yep. Those big-time stories that pop up. You never know where it's going to come from, but it just always seems to happen.
So let's talk a little bit about week 1 of the college season, because the entire board is up. No games off the board at all, so you can fire away on anything you like. Where has the action been so far? And I guess maybe the most important question, is it all respected money, or are there some public bettors getting involved early?
Yeah, there's some public bettors, but the bets have been so small by them right now that it really hasn't moved the needle whatsoever. As far as, it's mostly been sharper bettors for the bigger bettors, and these are the games we've seen so far the biggest liability. UCLA, Nebraska, and that correlates with Nebraska's season win totals. We have a big liability on them there, and of course in week 1 it kind of stands to reason that they'd be a big liability. Kind of a surprise here. Liberty, with their new coach Hugh Freeze, they're a pretty decent-sized liability in week 1, and USC as well.
Yeah, I know the USC's getting a lot of money against Fresno State. That's throughout town, and that line's going up. I'm a little curious as to what you think of UCLA getting played against Cincinnati, because just on my power ratings, I've got Cincinnati as the better team.
Yeah, I agree. Cincinnati is, I think, is the better team, and they've been consistent the past few years, even though they've had some quarterback musical chairs with some quarterbacks. They've been shown they can move the ball. Well, UCLA, I think it's just a Chip Kelly thing. His second year, bettors probably feel he's going to have his guys, quote-unquote, in there this year, and the system will be better, and they'll be more explosive, I suppose. But it is hard to go against Cincinnati in that spot. You still like to respect what they've done, even though it's been in a smaller conference and less publicized games.
A quick note for each of those teams. UCLA, of course, with 19 returning starters, the most in college football, Chip Kelly's second year. Cincinnati last year in yards per game diff was number 3 in the country behind Alabama and Clemson. So, again, a sneaky team there that they really overachieved compared to their record, and they put the yards on. They struggled in the red zone. So, a team to keep an eye on. I have Cincinnati winning the AAC. I really like the Bearcats this year.
I like Memphis. I think Memphis could be just downright scary.
We're going to learn early what they're laying 6 to Ole Miss week 1, right?
Yeah. And that's a game I was going to mention, because that's one where the big name school out of the SEC, Will, is obviously Ole Miss. But they're not as regarded as highly as some other SEC teams. And Memphis Memphis is a good-sized favorite in this game, especially considering the conference disparity. I think that speaks volumes about where Memphis is expected to be this year. A lot of people think